All right, awesome. Okay. So yeah, welcome guys. Today for anyone in the stream, I'll have Misyrie, who is the GM of Black Rose, and Dragoon, who is the GM of Corrupt, with me today for the Node War podcast. Node War podcast, sorry. And both of these guys have a lot of experience, and they've had a lot of experience shot calling, leading guilds, and also in officer positions. And I respect their and value their opinions. So today we'll be talking about, mainly the new Node War changes live in KR right now, and the positives and negatives of in those areas, and also talk a little bit about the current state of the Node War scene. So yeah, I guess I'll give you guys a little bit of time to like introduce yourselves as well if you want before we get started.
All right, Miz, you want to go first or want me to?
You can lead the way, Dragoon.
All right. Yeah, I'm the GM of Corrupt. I've been playing BDO since the Steam launch, and I've pretty much been active in T2 plus Node Wars since then, or probably like a few weeks or so, or months or so after Steam launch. I think we've been sieging for like 2 years, and overall, like we've seen how the siege scenes progressed and the Node War scenes progressed over the years. Like that's pretty much it.
Okay. I go by Misyrie. I've been playing the game since a couple months before Steam release. Participated in Siege in quite a few guilds, dating back to LOTD, Hexus, and then Vincier into Black Rose. I was an officer in Black Rose for a couple of years and then took over as GM when Sacha quit, whenever that was, like 6 months ago. So I think I've been sieging for a little over 3 years at this point, something like that. It's been a long time.
All right, awesome. Thanks for introducing yourselves, Misery and Dragoon. So I just want to go through quickly. The point of this podcast is to kind of offer, give insight into opinions of, respected members within the video community, and I want to be able to, have something to show the developers in Pearl Abyss, and give insight and feedback into these new Node War changes and the current Node War systems, and what we can potentially do to make the Node War system and siege system more enjoyable for guilds and players across BDO. So I'll just spend 1 or 2 minutes quickly talking about the changes, the new Node War changes in KR, because that's the first thing I want to talk about, and then I'll pass it on to Misery and Dragoon. So if you guys don't know, Korea has recently gotten the revamped Node War updates, and it's a really drastic change. I think some of the biggest changes are making it so that all nodes are capped at 100 members. They changed Bayonets and Serenia to be tier 1 only. It's more of a connected Node War system now than a split Node War system. There is territory locking. For example, if you own a node in Calpheon, you cannot participate in another territory like a node in Valencia unless it's on a Sunday. Apart from that, there's also introduced the new more rewards like a node war shop after you occupy a certain tier of a node, and there's also stuff like now you can merc out if you own a territory. So like if you own Valencia, you can merc out for a Node War guild during the week, and also you can own multiple territories as well. So I guess we'll just start off with the first point, which is the 100-man cap nodes. And I don't know who wants to start off, Misyrie or Dragoon. What are your thoughts and opinions of the 100-man cap nodes?
I guess I'll start off. So I mean, if you guys remember from a long time ago, originally the game was only 100 mans. Um, I think it worked back then because the entire PvP scene was originally a lot more active than it currently is. At the moment, the PvP scene, there's not that many guilds left in the PvP scene. I don't know. I'm trying to think of how many T2 guilds there are like around our strength. I'd probably say like 7, including like the Siege guilds, maybe like a bit more, like 9. Um, just I don't think there's like enough guilds to even cover that many nodes, and also considering that a lot of these guilds only like bring like 50 people at like their max node size. Some of them can only do 30s, but most of them can do like 50s around our strength. If guilds just double up and do the 200 man alliance stuff, it's just going to be like 4 guilds left, 5 guilds left, and 5 regions, 5 guilds. Like every guild can legit just dodge each other if they want.
Yeah,
Or
to build on
go ahead,
that,
sorry.
I guess. You're good. I think one of the best things that they did with Node War when guilds started dwindling was adding these caps. It lets guilds exist as smaller entities and allows them to still participate. And I think even bigger than that is it makes it so it doesn't restrict your recruiting. You don't have to say you can't join the guild unless you can make XYZ day and that type of stuff. And it lets people always fight on even playing fields. So, generally speaking, when you get a fight, you're probably going to get close to, if not the full strength of a guild, as long as they end up placing on that node. I think it, may have worked 4 years ago, but it's, at least in NA, not a system that I think is sustainable today.
Awesome. I 100% agree with that. I definitely, even right now, most of the fights or most of, the nodes where you see like around 10 forts, I only see like them on 30 mans or 40 mans. Very rarely do you ever see decent fights on 100-man nodes, so definitely agree with what Misyrie and Dragoon said there. Alright, the next point is about, I want to quickly go over what are your thoughts on them locking Bayonos and Serenia to only be tier 1s?
So, I've heard that that's actually, they're walking that back a little bit. I
Okay,
don't know how credible that information is, but it seems like that would be contradictory to their whole adding Serendia and Balanos as regions that have buffs. It would seem kind of silly if the 2 hardest regions to grind are only available to tier 1 guilds, since you would expect that they don't have the gear to grind those spots. So I have a feeling we're going to see that walked back, and that just won't be a thing.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it should like get changed around a bit. Looking past that though, I mean, I think giving T1 node war guilds a region to fight for would be nice. I think if they reworked like how the buffs worked, like maybe gave Valencia or like Calpheon to those guilds, it probably would be a bit better. Just because like realistically, if you're a new guild, you're probably going most of your members are probably either grinding Valencia or Stars End. Um, I mean, like, there's a lot of T1. I mean, sure, there's some players in T1 guilds that can grind orcs and stuff, but majority of them are like grinding Stars End or History or Ackman, and I think like those buffs will benefit them in catching up a lot more than only like 10-20% of their guild being able to grind orcs.
Yep. Okay, sounds good. So, in general, like, if for some reason, like, they did introduce Bayonos and Serenity as tier 1 only, would you guys be, like, for or, like, against that? Or,
Um, like if they kept it how it's currently gonna be added in, like
yeah.
with all right, so if Elvia goes to Serendia, I can bet that there's gonna be some Siege Guild dropping down into T1s just to get the Elvia buff. And I mean, I don't think that's gonna be really fun because I mean, every time a Siege Guild's dropped into T1s, like they can generally take on a lot of guilds on their own, just because like sure there's gear caps and stuff now, but even through the gear caps and everything, it's just like a composition thing. Like a lot of Siege guilds have good comps, a lot of T2 node work guilds have pretty good comps, and whenever they go down to like T2s, it's like usually not as like not fair to like 1v1 that guild. They generally get zerged out. Um, so I have a feeling a lot more of that would happen.
Yep.
Yeah, I think as an idea, it's good to separate tier ones and tier two and T2 plus, and to give them something more meaningful to fight over. But yeah, I mean, I agree with Dragoon in the sense that giving somewhere that you lock T1 access to the best grind buff in the game is only going to make their scene worse.
Okay. Yep, sounds good. All right. Onto the next point is the new connected node war system. How it works essentially is that there's certain nodes within a region, and now I think they removed the starter node thing, but now you can own multiple nodes within a region, and you can designate one node to be your central node. And how it works is if you lose your central node, say like you own 3 or 4 nodes and you lose your central node, you lose all the nodes in that region. And additionally, so like say you have one node on one end and then you have another node on the other end of the map, and you lose the connecting node between those two nodes, then you lose. So essentially, it's like if you have a string, right, and you cut the center off, then that far piece of the string, you'll lose that part of the string. So you lose that node, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I guess what are your thoughts on the new connected node war system, Misyrie and Dragoon?
Um, I haven't looked into it too much yet. I mean, I've seen like some game like I like understand how it works a bit, but I mean, I think it could be fun to try out, but I'm not sure exactly how it's going to end because I know you're limited to only node warring on certain days with that system, which is a little bit awkward for some guilds because like we node war every single day outside of Wednesday, so it would definitely bottleneck how much we get to fight. Um, Outside of that, like I'm not really sure how the entire chain works. Can you like fight? Do you have to pretty much always defend your starter node, and can people fight you on 2 different nodes at once, or how does that
Yeah.
work?
So essentially, you can have 2 or 3 battles going on like separate nodes at the same time. And I think how it works is like your the node you designate as your central node, like you have to protect that at all costs, because if you lose that, then you lose every other node on the region. But like essentially how it works is like say a node war timer starts or the node war time starts, you could be fighting between 2 or 3 node war zone areas depending on how many nodes you own, essentially.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it could be fun, like to try out pretty much. I'm not sure if it would be like good long term or anything, but yeah, that's just like my thoughts on it.
It would be a big meta shift from what we have now. I think it would require a lot of restructuring of guilds. You'd need several shot callers. You'd need to basically you'd need to break up your 100-man guild into multiple units that can all exist on their own. So you need, in all likelihood, multiple cannon teams or a cannon team that can split up. A defense team that can split between multiple nodes, multiple shot callers, all that type of stuff. Uh, it's a cool concept, but I think fitting what we have now into that would require a lot of restructuring of guilds. So
Yeah.
could
I
be
actually have
cool,
one.
but
God, sorry.
no, that's it.
Oh, okay. I have one question about the system, if you know, Jackie. If you finish one node war, can you immediately go to the next node war to help out, or how does that work? Or are you just
Yeah,
locked
so
out?
essentially like forts or guilds can drop on one node, and that node has a fort count. And essentially, as soon as you're the only last fort left, you win that node, and that node locks out for the day. And then you can move on to the next node if there's other forts on that and clear that too. Essentially, that's
Oh, okay.
that's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there would definitely be like new strategies made up. Like something I could think of is like, I don't know, creating a lot of defensive forces and then just trying to snowball each node and like try and control multiple nodes and just stack up your force over time. But
Yep.
yeah, I
All
mean, it
right.
would definitely be creative. But yeah, I mean, I'd be down to try it. I just think I don't see a lot of guilds really owning more than 2 nodes ever.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of these changes seems like it also like I'll talk about this later, more about this later, but like a lot of these changes seem to add a lot more pressure and work for the officer corps inside a node war or a siege guild as well. So
Yeah.
that's one of my other concerns. All right, so I guess we'll go into we can talk about what do you guys like? What about the new Node War system do you guys like? Right, like what are the positive aspects of the new Node War systems that you want to be implemented onto NA and EU? I don't know if you want to start off, Misery.
Uh, yeah, I guess I could try to take that. I mean, I think the rewards and stuff are kind of cool. Uh, being able to merc out while you have castle is and that type of stuff, I think is potentially better, potentially worse. It's kind of hard to say. I don't know what that looks like in practice, but I think as it stands right now, owning a territory is almost more of a drawback, at least to what our scene has, rather than a benefit, because you basically have to take a week off of PvP, and at the moment, there's just not a giant incentive to owning a territory. So that could be kind of neat. It kind of allows you to compete for the rewards that do exist with the system without having to give something up at the same time, which is kind of nice. But I mean, and I guess like camp and node wars are kind of cool. It'll be a nice like change of scenery, but beyond that, I tend to have more negative thoughts about the coming system rather than positive ones.
Yeah, just quickly. So with the new merc system as well, so they changed the new merc system where like instead of it being capped on the number of mercs you can take based off the tier and the number, like the manpower of the node. They changed it now where it's a point system where like the more geared players require. So like for example, you could essentially take one 700 gear score player, or you can maybe take three or four 600 gear score players. So I'm not sure exactly how the maths work out or how the node merc system exactly works, but that's also one of the changes they're implementing well with these node war revamp.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's pretty good. I mean, you would pretty much only want to pick up like geared players that are actually good. So I mean, gear and skill both coincide now, rather than just if you're recruiting mercs, you just pretty much at the moment pick like the highest geared players, unless you know like there's a under geared player that's insanely good, and then like that's about it. Or you just pick up like friends from other guilds or other people that you know. Um, I mean, I think that's a really good change for the node war system because like a lot of guilds you just used to just stack up on like whenever siege guilds didn't mer or didn't war, like a lot of guilds let's say Cho didn't war, a lot of guilds would just pick up a lot of Cho mercs, and like obviously that would stack up their guild if the other guild doesn't do it.
Yep, yep,
And now
definitely.
there's drawbacks.
Do we know exactly how the calculation is done in Korea yet? I haven't paid enough attention.
I don't know, but I can ask and find that information at a later date.
Okay.
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 And in terms good, sorry.
No, you go, Dragoon. You're good.
Okay. And in terms of like the node war system, I think like just them rewarding PvP is good. Like outside of that, I don't really know too much about it. I like the concept of being able to fight for multiple nodes, but I don't know how practical it is. Other than that, I just like the rewards because I've always thought that PvPers should be able to get gear and stuff like that off PvPing because at the moment, node warring costs more money than you get back, like from giant shrouds, will pots, everything like that. Villa buffing every day, church buffing every day.
Yeah, yeah,
Like you
definitely.
lose a lot.
Yeah, like for myself, for Siege where I pop elixir rotations, well, I can easily go through, almost half a billion silver in like a couple hours. So, but I would say most people who actively do node wars in Siege right now just do it because PvP, large scale end. But it is I do agree with Dragoon that the more incentivized rewards and better payouts does help
Yep.
node war guilds become more active. Okay. So just one last point before we go through to the current state of the node system. What needs to address like currently is so what's for Misyrie and Dragoon, what's your biggest concern with the new node war system?
That it kills PvP. Like,
Yeah,
Oh, sorry,
I
I
agree
meant
with that.
like which change in the new node war system are you most concerned about?
it's the collection of changes. It's 100-man nodes where you can't see how many forts are on what areas that lock you to a region. Like all of the above, like it just as a system in and of itself, in the current state of our scene, I think it would actually just straight up kill PvP.
Yep.
Or restrict
Yeah.
it to one region.
Yeah, I mean, my problem with it is like there's gonna be a lot of guilds. I mean, I think like if they did the 100-man change only, like it would be okay, I guess. At least like guilds would merge up and like form up a bit. There wouldn't be that many guilds and like but locking you to a certain region, people are probably just gonna throw their first node war just so they don't end up on a region with strong guilds, and strong guilds pretty much won't ever get fights because everyone's just gonna try and dodge them over and over again.
Yeah, I agree. So like say for example, like that new node war region comes out, Karma Sylvia, and then Cho Nation drops on it, they own a territory, and then like pretty much all the other guilds just go to another region. And
Yep.
how is Cho Nation meant to get out of Karma Sylvia? Like if nobody ever contests them, they're just literally locked there forever.
Yeah,
Pretty
exactly.
sure.
Because I
So
mean, no one really wants to fight Cho, so if that happened, they wouldn't go there. I mean, there's probably not many node war guilds that really want to fight BR as well. So I mean, BR would get out of content. I mean, there's not a lot of node war guilds that want to fight like us, Digital, APOC, Vertex, Relevance, Frequency, and like all those guys. I mean, there's like a bunch of guilds like that. I have a feeling it's just gonna like pretty much segregate certain people to like certain regions, and then after that they're not going to get any more content. And then I also feel like a lot of snipe guilds and like lower end guilds are just going to constantly try and avoid any sort of PvP, and it'll probably just kill T2 plus. I know, I have a feeling T1s might get better, but the issue is like, sure, T1 fights currently have like big node caps, like let's say a 25 minute 17 forts, but if you combine those guilds together, it's only like 4 guilds and 100 man. So like T1s are also gonna suffer pretty severely.
yep. Okay. All right. So we'll move on to the last point of the podcast I want to go through. A little bit short on time, so maybe instead of asking for the three biggest issues, I might just ask for one. But essentially, with the current state of the node war system, we're looking at how squishy, for myself looking and taking part in some of these node wars, like how squishy some of the weaker structures are, like recoveries and supplies, and how fast a tier 2 fort can go down, because PvE damage is also calculated or something into your damage when you hit a structure or a base or a stick. And then also we're talking about the how, like, when you're fighting stronger guilds, you absolutely need cannons to try to take them down. I don't know, there's probably some other issues I haven't thought up of right now, but like essentially for Misyrie and Dragoon, what do you think is the biggest issue with the current node war system, like for tier 2 plus, that needs to be like addressed currently to improve the system and people participating in it?
I mean, I guess I can go first. So in my opinion, like one of the biggest issues is just like the amount of people that are currently PvPing. And in my opinion, if there was more guilds, the PvP scene would be a lot healthier and probably more enjoyable for everyone. And like one of the only ways to really attract more guilds to do T2 node wars is like, I don't know, either adding good rewards and an incentive to actually participate in T2 plus. Because at the moment there really isn't any. You're gonna fight guilds that have a lot more gear than you, and it's not gonna be fun. So like, if there's incentive to it, like you get to make good money off participating in T2s or something like that, that could be helpful. Or if there's like a class balance revamp, so you don't require pretty much having like X amount of classes to participate. Because like with the old system before they did the PA change, obviously you really didn't want to do the T2 plus unless you had like at least 2 PA groups, in some cases 3 PA groups. So stuff like that would help out a lot, in my opinion.
Yep, yeah, I agree. Definitely incentivizing newer guilds to participate, tier 2 plus node wards, and also, even I like what we're doing right now is where we have certain agreements or set up fights where, the newer guilds can have at least, 20 to 30 minutes of, decent PvP, even with on the node as well. All right, I guess, okay, I'll pass it. What about yourself, Misery? What are your thoughts?
If I had to pick something that you and Dragoon didn't say, I would probably say the two like biggest things for me are the musical chairs leading up to Node War and Cutoff. I don't know what the best prescription is for that, but like, I mean, for example, last night we have a Node War region that has 5 forts on it, and it ripped down all the way to 0 in the last 20 minutes. It's like really annoying that you have to have like 10 different people on at all times leading up to Node War on sub 50 alts if you want to make sure that you don't get your spot interrupted on multiple regions, on multiple nodes, waiting to see in this like obnoxious game of chicken who places where, so you actually get involved in the fights. That can be really annoying. And I think the other thing too is there I don't know if there should be some type of cost associated with it or what, or some type of barrier of entry. But to that same point, there should be some type of preventative measure for sniping node war forts. It is very obnoxious when you are out looking to try to get a fight and you are misled by the number of nodes on the region. That said, it does look like they tried implementing this patch, hiding the number of nodes on, or hiding the number of forts on the nodes, but I don't know if that's quite the answer.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? Hiding the node count, fort count before cutoff, Misery? Because I know there's like positives and negatives to this change. Like one of them being like, it makes it a lot harder for snipe nodes to know which node to determine which node exactly they can snipe on, but also it makes it harder for guilds that are looking for a fight to like find an actual fight as well, on the other hand.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it obviously is a negative for snipe guilds, but it's also a really big negative for guilds that actually want to PvP. I feel like pretty much all non-scripted PvP is gonna be dead now, because unless like every guild has like a mutual agreement that hey, these are gonna be all the PvP nodes, and then everything else probably won't have a fucking fight at all. Because let's say, I mean, generally the way we plan is we just look for a node with like the highest fort count, and if it's in like the if it's in the group of like nodes that we can attend, like we have enough people for, we'll go there. But um, that's gonna be hard to do now without scripting nodes every day.
Yeah, I think it's an overall negative. I do not think it's a good change.
Yep. Okay. All right. I think last question from chat, and then we'll end up when the podcast has gone a little bit over time. Big Scandal asks thoughts on not being able to whistle the elephant with an upgraded horse flute after 2 weeks of it being out.
That's dumb.
I think that's insanely dumb. That I actually didn't even know that until you just brought it up because I saw it
Same.
in chat. But yeah, we had like a few officers that weren't able to whistle our elephant, and they were wondering what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's insanely dumb and needs to be fixed. I don't know why they aren't on top of fixing bugs like this, because they break the game.
That item in in general is like kind of weird. You're paying extra money to uh like not get the full benefit of the original item that you had. Like you can't whistle horses with trade items on it as well. Like that's fine, it makes sense, but you could do that with like within 500 range or whatever. Like that item should be coded in such a way that you don't lose any of the benefits that you had. You shouldn't have to decide whether or not you want to buy that item. It should just be better because you're paying more money for it, or questing or whatever.
Way to win. Okay. Well, that's pretty much all I want to go through today. I gotta say, thank you to Misyrie and Dragoon for spending their time this morning, this afternoon, or this evening with us today, and sharing their insight on the new Node War changes and the issues with the current Node War system. So yeah, if you guys have any last words to say, yeah, feel free to say it now. Otherwise, yeah, podcast is pretty much over now.
Pleasure as always, Jackie.
Thank you for your
Thanks
time.
for having us.
Okay, I'll see you guys later.
See you, man.
All right.
Peace.
See you, man. Have a good one.
You too. All right, I think that went really well. It was a little bit scuffed at the start because I was a little bit nervous, but you know, I'm happy to spend a couple minutes now to answer any questions. I do also have a couple of Node War VODs I want to go through as well for you guys. Some really interesting fights this week, so you know, I'll one or 2 minutes if there's any last minute questions. I'm happy to answer any questions. Jackie, could you wish Conan a happy birthday? Sure thing, Conan. I hope you have a happy birthday, my friend. All right. Conan's gotten so many of his happy birthday wishes. All right. Okay, so I have some videos and stuff lined up. I want to go through the class, the global lab changes with you.
Now,
Anders made a video on this recently where they go through all the class balance changes. Sorry, I have a question. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that open world PvP will be changed by decking guilds. Oh, what do I think about the fine with guild decks? So, if you guys don't know, in Global Labs or something, they have a new change where essentially it makes it a lot harder and a lot more expensive to deck guilds that don't want to deck you back. So, when you deck a guild, it will take a certain percentage of your guild funds and it ramps up through time, right? If they don't deck back. And apart from that, if you undeck a guild, you cannot deck that guild back for 3 days, I think. So what I think about that is, I think the fines are okay. I think they need to be ramped down a little bit. I don't agree with the 3-day limit where you can't deck that same guild again, and I think they should remove the 15 limit cooldown, like from when you deck a guild to when the guild deck becomes active. Maybe give that 5 minutes at most, right? Because 15 minutes is like a little bit too much. Because I do understand the 15 minutes, because the 15 minutes gives them time for the other person to swap channels, maybe that's why they have it in there. But I think, you know, waiting like 15 minutes for a deck to go through is just way too long, and it's not good for PvP, right? Yeah, I don't like it because what are you supposed to do about the griefers? Yeah, exactly. Like it does incentivize griefing as well. And like if Tro Nation, for example, decks corrupt and corrupt doesn't deck back, they're not gonna They're not going to sacrifice 3% of their guild funds every day for a single deck slot. Like, just doesn't make sense. But yeah, that's my opinions. All right. Anyways, okay. What I want to do next is I want to go through the huge class balancing, nerfing, and buffing with you guys today. With so checking out the Anders video, and I just want to share my opinions with you guys, and we can have a discussion in stream about it. So it should be interesting.
Black Desert Foundry got these pretty well translated for the most part, at least better than Google.
And
Translate.
so
let's go ahead and jump into each class and see what we
KR got these class changes this week, by the way. If you guys don't know, they got it like yesterday. They got it live on their servers, so I'm pretty sure like every single change that was on these global labs went live on KR, which means that we could be getting these changes very soon as well, right? So I think it would be something that we will want to, just be aware of.
we've got here for Warrior. When using spinning / absolute skill, it's been improved. So
I'm
that
fully
the skill
expecting
critical
Pierre to
strike
push these
probability
class changes
increase
mid
effect is
AOA
applied
20.
even
Oh
in
yeah,
non-specific
same.
situations. The phenomenon that the skill add-on effect was not normally applied to each strike action of
Yeah,
heavy
I mean, I'll share my opinions when we get to that. So they're doing Warrior
shield
first,
strike,
yeah.
and the absolutes and primes has been corrected. All levels, when using the spinning / skill, a 100% increase in critical strike probability for 2 seconds has been
So I think I don't know what you guys think about this, but when using spinning / skill, so it's now a 100% increase in critical strike. So it has 100 spinning / has 100% crit
Ranger, we
right
have a
now.
12-second cooldown added to the flow air explosion shot skill, and when using the following skill during the cooldown time,
I don't
the
know
bug that
too
the
much
cooldown
about
time is
Warrior.
applied again.
But in general, Warrior looks like Warrior Succession Awakening got some buffs.
Normally applied to each strike. Ranger, we have a 12-second cooldown added to the flow air explosion shot skill, and when using the following skill during the cooldown time, the bug that the cooldown
I'm sorry,
time
I turned off the Streamlabs chatbot, but the podcast's pretty much over. I should change the stream title as well, Xe.
has been
I don't know if
corrected.
you
That
can
is for
change the
absolute
stream title.
penetrating wind and descending current. In the succession build, we've got prime evasive explosion shot skill backwards and maintaining the command. The skill has been changed to enable linkage to the flow air explosion shot skill. The effect of the knockback status abnormally at the last hit success on prime tearing arrow has been changed to the knockback status abnormality effect of at the first hitting success.
So I think Conan's in chat. I don't know, Conan. What do you think of the Awakening and Succession Ranger changes? I'm pretty sure in general, Ranger got buffed though, right?
The dispersion damage of the prime tearing
And
arrow.
someone was saying that their black backflip is like easier to do now. Awakening changes are whatever.
Skill has been changed so that it is applied only during PvP. When the Prime Razor Wind skill is not in the cooldown time, the forward guard defense judgment has been changed to be applied in the standby position when maintaining the atmospheric posture of the Prime Razor Wind skill.
So Razor Wind skill stamina has been changed to be consumed continuously. Succession changes are great, but they aren't really going to help where Succession really needs help, like PvE or small scale 1v1. It's going to make large scale better. It's good, but nothing game changing.
Stamina has been changed
awesome.
to be
Thank you
consumed
for that
continuously.
TLDR.
For Awakening, we have a number of increase in the evasion rate of the Guardian skill has been changed from 15% to 20%.
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, Succession Ranger has very high damage from ranged, right? But most of its ranged high damaging abilities are unprotected. So they're very open to being CC'd, and they're very squishy as well, right? So it's a trade-off. You're kind of like a ranged glass cannon,